Hello and welcome to the France 24 interview. Our guest today is Dr. John Nkengasong. He's the director of the Africa Center for Disease Control and Prevention attached to the African Union. He joins us from Addis Ababa. Thank you very much for being with us today.
You're welcome.
In Africa, over 3.3 million cases of COVID-19 have been reported, with nearly 81,000 deaths. That is less than the official tally in the United Kingdom or in Italy. However, there are some concerns that we're seeing an uptick in the number of cases lately. How worried are you that the worst might still be to come for Africa?
You're absolutely right. I think we are extremely concerned that our second wave of the pandemic is fierce than the first wave. As we speak, we have recorded a total of 3.3 million cases across the continent with about 80,000 deaths. But to really put that in context, it's better to compare the rates of deaths in the first wave and the second wave. It took us 150 days to record 20,000 deaths during the first wave. Now it has taken us less than 25 days to record 20,000 deaths. So that is how quickly the death rates are increasing. And also significant is that over 20 countries are now reporting case fatality rates that are above the global average of 2.2. So the second wave is really fierce, and the impact is, in terms of mortality, is beginning to be felt.
Right, because to go back to the first wave, essentially it was concentrated in North Africa and in South Africa. But now what you're saying is that you're seeing a spread to more countries, and one can assume that not all the cases are fully reported in those countries.
No, absolutely. I think we have admitted right from the beginning that this was a high possibility that the cases that were reported were underestimates, for sure. But what was important to note at that time is that the mortality, that is the number of people that were dying, was reflected by the counts. So, but now we are really beginning to see people that we know that are dying, high-level people. The Minister of Foreign Affairs of Zimbabwe died, I think, just yesterday or 2 days ago. The cabinet minister just died in South Africa. So I think this is the fatality is increasing across the board across many countries in Africa.
Right. There's been a lot of talk on the continent, but even here in Europe and beyond, of the so-called South African variant of the virus. How widespread is it in South Africa, in neighboring countries, and on the continent? And how worried are you about this variant?
So the thing with the variant is that, we know that it is in South Africa, and we know that it is also reported in Zambia and also Botswana. But I think it is safe to say that if the continent sequence, you find this variant. I think the only reason that you see this more in South Africa is because they have capabilities to do genomic analysis, to analyze the sequences of the virus. So let's not be too deceived that it is only in South Africa. My assumption is that, or we should assume that, this variant is across multiple countries. It's a question of time. If we sequence, we will find it. We at the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention have established a network of centers of excellence that will be collecting information, sequencing, analyzing, so that we can complement the epidemiological information together with the genomic information to understand how the pandemic is spreading. So we are very concerned. But what we know with this virus is that it is is easily transmittable. It's fueling the second wave of the pandemic in Southern Africa. We really don't know if this is translating to more deaths because of this variant. So, but the key thing we should remember is that the same measures that we have applied all along for the last 1 year to fight the pandemic will work against this variant. So I think which include the masking, avoid mass gathering, washing of hands, and really community ownership. If we apply all of this, of course, we overall prevent the transmission of COVID-19 and will not be worried with the variant as such.
Right. According to your modeling, I imagine you must be looking at the future. Right now, we're at 81,000 deaths. What do you see happening in the next few months in terms of number of people dying on the continent?
You know, I'm always an optimist that I believe that if we do the right interventions, then the modeling or the models that we project out there may actually end up not being realistic. So what are the interventions that we need to do now? First of all, again, I'm really calling on the leadership of the continent, the political leadership, to engage with the community, subsidize prevention measures such as masks, so that we prevent it upfront. If we prevent the infections up front, then of course we are directly preventing deaths. I think that is one. The second thing we must do is, again, with strong support from the political leadership and partners, is to make sure that we equip hospitals with oxygen. It is really a strong appeal I'm making to the continent that, I mean, we should have enough oxygen to support and manage cases of COVID-19. A lot of our deaths are occurring just because of shortage of oxygen across our medical facilities. And thirdly, we have to work very hard to make sure that vaccines are available to protect our healthcare workers so that they can be immunized as the first line of defense, so that they can take care of people, a large number of patients that will be infected. I think those are the key things that as a continent we have to do as a collective.
Right, which brings us to what the head of the World Health Organization declared just a few days ago. He said the world is on the brink of a moral catastrophic failure by its failure to share equally the COVID-19 vaccinations. In a nutshell, there's the sentiment that he's expressing others that rich countries are hoarding all the vaccines and very few vaccines are left for poor countries, especially on the continent. What is the situation in terms of access to vaccines in Africa?
So let me echo the sentiments of the Director General of the World Health Organization, Dr. Tedros. About 3 weeks ago, during the Christmas period, I made such an assessment. I said very clearly that we are heading towards a moral catastrophe, and which we don't need to be there if the world unite and express solidarity and cooperation. I think history will judge us very poorly. That vaccines were available and we're not able to distribute those vaccines to the needy in a timely fashion. I think that is very, very important. The continent of Africa is a continent of 1.2 billion people. That is a lot of people to be neglected. And we're not talking about containing COVID. We really mean defeating the war, winning the war against COVID-19. So I think it is for our collective interest as a people living on the same planet to make sure that Africa and other parts of the developing world have timely access to COVID vaccines to immunize its population.
How much access do you have? How many vaccines have been secured for the continent? The figures are apparently very low.
Well, Africa is looking at three mechanisms. Of course, we are very strong supporters of the COVAX facility, and we've heard very clearly that COVAX facilities will support the continent with about 600 million doses of vaccines. You heard just last week or so that President Cyril Ramaphosa, the chair of the African Union, announced that we have secured 270 million doses of vaccines. I think that is great. I think in the coming weeks or so, more announcements will be made from the continent. And of course, individual countries are beginning to engage in bilateral deals there. But we as a continent are really approaching this with what we call the whole of the continent approach, which means we leave no country behind because COVID will not be eliminated in any country in Africa if it's still lingering in another country in Africa. So I think we really have to use the whole of Africa approach, Africa solidarity, global solidarity to fight this war against COVID-19. And vaccines clearly will be a game changer for sure.
Right. I want your comment on the announcement by the incoming Biden administration that it would rejoin the World Health Organization and that it would also participate in this COVAX facility mechanism. Could it be a game changer?
Absolutely, a game changer. The world has always been a good place when the United States has expressed and exercised its very powerful leadership, especially in global health. For sure, we know that what the United States has done with or did to fight the HIV/AIDS pandemic in early 2000 by establishing the PEPFAR, that is the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. I think those were together with the Global Fund, those were game changers, and we expect nothing short of that now. So I think it's a happy day for the global health community. It's a happy day for the fight against COVID-19, and it's a happy day for people on our planet that the United States is back and is showing strong leadership to fight this terrible pandemic.
Right. So as a conclusion, you're hopeful that the Biden administration will be a leader in fighting the pandemic, not only in the United States, but across the world, including in Africa.
Absolutely. We have absolutely no doubts about that. I think the expressions that we've seen by rejoining the World Health Organization, expression of interest to contribute to COVAX, speaks to that optimism. I think it should be celebrated as a happy day for the global health community.
Dr. John Nkengasong, I want to thank you very much for being with us here on the France 24 interview from Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And thank you for watching it. Stay tuned for more news here on France 24.